Okay, ready? I'd like to call the Public Service Commission to order. Secretary Burgess, are there any changes to the final agenda?
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. There's no changes to the agenda this morning.
Okay. Before we start the meeting, I do want to take a moment. This week, we heard of the sad passing of a former Public Service Commissioner, Neil Gavin, who passed away on September 15th this week. Commissioner Gavin retired from came to the commission actually and served from 1999 to 2006. I did not obviously have the pleasure of serving with him or knowing him, but have heard from many people that he was an exceptional person, and it's came to us like after two he retired, I think, from two private sector jobs. And while he was here, he did a number of very important things, including approving the RPS, and also served as the treasurer for MACRUC. So we're certainly very, very saddened to hear about his death, but of course, we're pleased to hear that he did have such a great opportunity to celebrate life. He's married to his wife, Sandra, for almost 60 years. We share our condolences with her, and with that, I know that Commissioner Berman and Commissioner Akampora had indicated they might want to say something. Commissioner Akampora, did you want to start?
Sure. I had the opportunity to serve with Neil, and as some people may have tagged him as an old school type of person, Neil was a real gentleman. He was a self-made man, as you had said, in the private sector. He also served in another capacity in our state, and he was very kind to me when I came here. We had a number of lunches together, and he really did care about the people of our state. And he really understood our role as commissioners in getting that balancing act with making sure that the industry side is taken care of, but the consumer side is also important. And I can remember one time we had a session where he said, I'm going to have to vote no, because I went to the public statement hearing, and he said, I listened to all the concerns of the people that came, and he said, I really would be a hypocrite if I sat there and I listened to them and I came here and voted the opposite way. He was a very principled man, and I also had the pleasure of working with his daughter Kim in the assembly when I was there, and Neil was really a patriarch of the Galvin family. I know he was very proud of all his children, and certainly most proud of his partner and wife, Sandra. So to the Galvin family, I give them my sincere sympathy and know that they have wonderful memories of Neil. He is only a memory away, and may he rest in peace.
Thank you. Commissioner Berman.
Neil is blessed to have lived a long and productive life of 82 years. He was an exemplary citizen of our nation in general and a valued contributor to his community in particular. He also lived for his family, Sandra, his wife, his 5 children, his 7 grandchildren, and his 1 great-grandson. His family was everything to him. I knew Neil when he was a commissioner, and I was a young staffer who was lucky enough to work directly with him one-on-one. He had few rules in my working with him, but he was very clear on the rules that he did have. He wanted the substantive information he needed to decide how to vote on an item in a straightforward, unbiased, accurate way, without any drama, puffery, or spin. The drama was hard for me. Perhaps his greatest legacy is that he gave us all positive, long-lasting memories and life lessons to emulate. I am confident in saying, without fear of anyone contradicting me, that there is no one who knew Neil who is not the better for it. Since his passing, these are some of the comments I have heard from my diverse sector of people. He was always concerned about the customer. He had a very practical way of looking at, cutting through issues, and he had absolutely no patience with bureaucracy. He hated the use of acronyms, thought it distanced us from the real world. He cared about the little guy and the impact long and short term of commission decisions. Wow, what a great guy. He was a class act, a true rags to riches type of person. His value system was pure and whole. It always revolved around his family. This is really sad news. He was one of the great guys. Huge loss. We need more Neils in New York. He was a dedicated public servant who always strove to provide for the consumer interest. He was particularly involved in streamlining the water industry and establishing a regulatory scheme for water utilities that was not burdensome for either the small company or the staff or the department. Neil brought a businessman's sense of what would work and what wouldn't. He had a healthy skepticism that often worked in the ratepayers' favor and kept us all grounded in reality. He was committed to fighting juvenile diabetes, brilliant business mind, and never forgot his roots, loved his family like no other. There were so many more comments that I've heard, but it's clear to me from this sampling that we can all be proud to have known a man such as Neil, who exemplified the essence of human worthiness. He was truly a blessing to his family, a credit to his friends, an incredible asset to his community. Neil, thank you for the impact and difference you made in my life and in so many others.
It's very lovely. Thank you, both of you. I think that's wonderful. Does anyone on staff want to say anything? I don't want to put people on the spot. I know that there are a lot of people here who knew Neil, and I'm sure that are conveying their best wishes and condolences to his family. We will, Secretary Burgess, maybe what I'd like us to do is to take this transcript and let's send it to his family. Commissioner Sayre also didn't have an opportunity to know him, so I don't know if don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't want to omit you.
I really didn't have a chance to interact with Commissioner Galvin, but everything that I've heard from everyone who worked for him, with him, and who knew him has been highly positive. And I'm sorry for my loss and not getting the chance to know him better.
So thank you, and sounds like we could use more Neils in the world today. Well, we will, so we'll move on, but I think that would be a nice thing to do, is to send this to his family. We will then turn to the agenda. We only have one item on the regular agenda today, and it's item number 501, which is in the matter of quality of service provided by Verizon New York. And typically on these, we get these quarterly reports. They're not for decision. They're really just an outcome report. But as we are all painfully aware, is substantial concern that we're hearing at our public statement hearings on the telecom study concerning the quality of telecommunications service in New York. And I asked Peter, who is our acting director of the telecom unit, to really take a look at this report and give us more of a detail of his sense of what things are, what is actually happening, and some steps that I've asked staff to take as a result of a lot of the concerns that we've heard at the public statement hearings, but also our own concerns as we're looking at this information. And thought it would be good to take a couple minutes and hear about that. So, Peter, could you go through it?
Yes, gladly. Good morning. And in honor of Neil, I will endeavor to use no acronyms this morning. So this is an information item that does periodically come to the Commission, and it's a report on Verizon's, it's a quarterly report on Verizon's service quality. It reports on Verizon's service quality broadly, and then more specifically on their performance under the Verizon Service Quality Improvement Plan. The Service Quality Improvement Plan was adopted by the Commission in December 2010. The premise underlying that plan was to focus the regulatory attention on protecting customers who lack competitive choice or have special needs warranting additional regulatory protections. So let me begin with the performance results broadly and then move to the more specific results under the Service Quality Improvement Plan. As you know, Verizon is the largest incumbent traditional local exchange carrier in New York, serving approximately 3 million access lines from approximately 540 central offices. This number is about 40% of the access lines that Verizon serviced 10 years ago due to migration to competitive alternatives. For the past 12 months, ending June 2015, Verizon lost roughly 10%, or over 300,000 additional access lines. A key measure that the Commission has long used of the network's ability to deliver reliable telephone service is the Customer Trouble Report Rate, CTRR. This measures the frequency of network problems identified by customers. The Commission's Customer Trouble Report Rate service standards measure two criteria. One is a broad gauge of the network's performance, and that is the percent of all central offices achieving 3.3 reports, trouble reports per 100 access lines, with 85% being the standard. The second measure of Customer Trouble Report Rate focuses on individual offices and tracks the number of individual central offices achieving a 5.5 reports per 100 access lines. Central offices serving more rural areas or areas with seasonal populations tend to experience more problems under this individual central office measure. Staff focuses its attention on this measure on central offices experiencing service inquiry reports, which means an individual central office has missed the threshold for 3 out of 5 months, which tends to indicate a chronic, more fundamental problem. So now let me just review the results that we've been seeing on these measures. As to the broad customer trouble report measure, in the second quarter of 2015, and that's done on a monthly basis, so that this is a monthly standard. Verizon missed the 85% standard in one of the months in the second quarter. And the report shows that the linear regression line indicates an improving trend over the selected period, but this line is sensitive to the choice of periods that are being covered. The telecommunication study, which was recently issued by the department, presents the results for the customer trouble report rate on a 12-month rolling average basis, and that shows that Verizon's results are gradually worsening since January 2009. And it's troubling to note that Verizon's overall performance on this broad 85% standard experienced a number of repeat failures or service inquiry reports during the last 2 years. It didn't experience any of those in the second quarter, but it has experienced a number of them over the last 2 years. With respect to the second criteria on individual central offices, 7 central offices experienced 8 service inquiry reports or chronic problems. We expect Verizon to employ proactive cable maintenance and proactive preventative maintenance programs to remediate and address the problems experienced by these offices. This is an improvement over prior years since the Commission heightened its focus on these problem offices and called for Verizon to develop and implement a remediation plan. Verizon is now completing its implementation of the targeted customer trouble report remediation plan. 3 of the central offices that filed a service inquiry report in the second quarter are in the midst of being remediated, but the remediation efforts were not completed as of the second quarter. We expect positive results in the next report. Now turning to the more specific plan, the service quality improvement plan, the key focus of that plan is the company's performance in timely repairing out of service and service affecting conditions. All 5 areas met the thresholds in each month of the second quarter of 2015. So let me just step back and make a couple of broader observations. While Verizon is meeting the service quality improvement plan thresholds, staff continues to evaluate more broadly whether Verizon is dedicating sufficient effort and attention to the millions of non-core customers who continue to rely on the copper network. In particular, staff is assessing the company's performance more broadly and the strength of Verizon's interest in and commitment to competing vigorously to retain customers on its copper network. At nearly every public statement hearing that we conducted over the past several months in connection with the telecommunications study, numerous concerns and problems were brought to our attention by customers being served by Verizon's copper network. Staff is looking at Verizon's service quality performance and investments in its copper network and associated maintenance activities on the copper network, as well as its efforts to migrate customers to its Fios network. Staff will be seeking additional information from Verizon to develop additional information to evaluate these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, obviously, the telecommunication report is not in front of us today, and we are going to be moving ahead on next steps with that. But getting this additional information as we determine what additional processes and facts we need, I think, is very important. Any questions or comments from any of the other commissioners?
The picture I get about service quality from this report, not so good, but not horribly bad, is, as Chair Zibelman said, and as you said, Peter, really different from what we heard in the public statement hearings on the telecom study proceeding, where we heard about service quality declining. Part of the difference may be that some of the results that we require to be reported only apply, as you said, to core customers who now take under 6% of Verizon's total remaining regulated customer access lines. And another part of the difference may be we're likely to hear from the people who have experienced bad service more than from the people who experience good service. And we do have a measure that covers all customers, both core and non-core, in the customer trouble report rate. I really don't know what the truth of the matter is, whether service is good or service is bad, and we're going to need to reconcile those views in the telecom study proceeding. I'm very pleased that staff is digging deep into these matters. Thank you.
They had our attention, but I don't know what to do with it, so I guess we'll move on. Commissioner Akampora, do you have any comments?
Sorry, we're having a fire drill.
Occupants of the 11th floor, please proceed to the 7th floor. I repeat, occupants of the 11th floor, please proceed to the 7th floor. Occupants of the 4th floor, please proceed to main lobby. Occupants of the 4th floor, please proceed to main lobby.
Oh, well, I was trying to mute it, but it didn't work, so we're having a fire drill.
Okay, Commissioner Akampora will hopefully be here when you get back, and if you have any comments, we can take them then. Unless there's something, because you need to leave. Can you hear me? Yeah, so Commissioner Berman, do you want to?
I just thank you. I look forward to reading the report and the continuing dialogue with stakeholders. Thank you.
Can I speak now? Okay.
Did you, Commissioner Ackenborg, did you want to say something?
No, I agree that all of us have attended several of the public statement hearings, and so waiting for the finalized report, I think, is going to be very important as we try to solve the problems that are involved and have been continuously ongoing for the past several years. So I think I'll just reserve my comments and wait for the final report, and hopefully we can get to a place where we can come up with a plan that will make everyone happy.
Thank you. So, just so you can get out of here, we'll move to the consent agenda. Do any of the commissioners want to recuse or abstain from any of the items on the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor of the recommendations on the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, there being none, the recommendations are adopted. Secretary Burgess, is there anything else in front of us today?
There's nothing else before you today. The next commission meeting is October 15th at 10:30.
Okay. Thank you.